My MIL destroyed my wedding dress because I wouldn't let her daughter wear white. My FIL offered money to drop the charges. The judge added a penalty for attempted bribery. My mother-in-law poured bleach on my wedding dress 2 days before the ceremony because I told her daughter she couldn't wear white. When I pressed charges, my father-in-law offered me $15,000 to drop everything. I declined. The judge found out about the offer. He added a penalty for attempted bribery to the final judgment. It cost them more than the dress ever did. My husband's name is Grant. His mother is Belinda. His sister is Ivy. His father is Hugh. The problem started 4 months before the wedding. Ivy announced she'd be wearing a white floor-length gown. Not ivory, not cream, bright bridal white. I told Grant I wasn't comfortable with that. He agreed. He called Ivy and asked her to choose a different color. Ivy said, "It's just a dress." Grant said, "It's a wedding. The bride wears white. Pick something else." Ivy called Belinda. Belinda called me. Ivy can wear whatever she wants. You don't get to control what people wear to your wedding. I'm not controlling anyone. I'm asking that no one wear a white bridal length gown to my wedding. That's a standard request. You're being a bridezilla. I'm being a bride. There's a difference. Ivy eventually agreed to wear a dusty rose dress. That was the end of it, or so I thought. 2 days before the wedding, I was at my parents' house where my dress was stored. I walked into the guest room to check on it, and the garment bag was unzipped. The dress was hanging on the rod with dark wet streaks running down the bodice. The fabric was discolored in jagged lines. I touched it, and my fingers came back wet. It smelled like bleach. Someone had poured bleach down the front of my wedding dress. I called Grant immediately. He came over. He looked at the dress, and his face went hard. He said, "My mother was here yesterday. She brought over a pie." His mother had been inside my parents' house the day before. She had access to the guest room. Nobody else had visited. I called Belinda. "Did you touch my dress?" "What are you talking about? Someone poured bleach on my wedding dress. You were in this house yesterday." "That's ridiculous. I would never do that." I called the police. An officer came and took a report. My parents confirmed Belinda was the only visitor the previous day. The officer noted the damage and said it could be classified as destruction of personal property. The dress was a $3,800 custom piece. It was not replaceable in 2 days. My mom and my maid of honor spent the next 48 hours calling every bridal shop within 60 miles. We found a floor-length ivory gown at a bridal consignment shop for $1,200. It needed alterations. The seamstress worked overnight. It wasn't the dress I dreamed about. It wasn't the one I'd picked after trying on 14 others. But I wore it and I married the man I loved, and Belinda sat in the 3rd row with her hands folded, looking like she'd gotten away with something. She hadn't. I filed a civil claim for property damage. The dress was documented with the original receipt, photos before the damage, and photos after. Grant's Aunt Margot, who'd arrived at my parents' house the same evening as Belinda, told us she'd seen Belinda coming out of the guest room holding a small bottle. She thought it was hand sanitizer. It was bleach. Belinda denied everything. Her attorney said she'd deny it under oath. Then Hugh got involved. 2 weeks after I filed, Hugh called me. "How much will it take to make this go away?" "Excuse me?" "The dress thing. How much do you want?" "I want the cost of the dress plus legal fees. That's what the claim says. I'll give you $15,000 cash if you drop everything. No court, no record. You're offering me money to drop a legal case. I'm trying to resolve this like family. Family doesn't pour bleach on a bride's dress 2 days before her wedding." I said no. I told my attorney about the call. She documented it. At the hearing, Belinda's attorney argued it was an accident and that there was no proof she'd intentionally damaged the dress. Margot testified. The police report was entered. The receipt was entered. Photos were entered. The bleach pattern was consistent with a deliberate pour, not a spill. The judge ruled in my favor. Damages for the dress, $3,800. Replacement cost and alteration fees, $1,600. Legal fees, $2,400. Then my attorney presented the recorded conversation with Hugh, offering $15,000 to drop the claim. The judge was not pleased. He said attempting to settle outside of court through a direct financial offer to a plaintiff while litigation is pending without going through counsel constituted improper conduct. He added a $5,000 penalty. Total judgment, $12,800. Hugh's face in the courtroom was something I'll remember for a long time. Belinda's was worse. She looked at Grant like he'd betrayed her. He said, "You poured bleach on her dress, Mom. You betrayed her." Ivy sat in the gallery wearing the dusty rose dress she'd been asked to wear. I thought that was fitting. Grant and I are still married. We don't attend holidays at his parents' house. Belinda has never apologized. Hugh has never acknowledged the bribery attempt. The consignment dress hangs in my closet now. It wasn't the one I chose. It wasn't the one I stood in front of a mirror and cried over because it was so perfect. But it's the one I wore the day I married someone who stood next to me instead of across from me. The original dress was thrown away. The receipt is in a file, and the judgment is paid in full. Belinda wrote the check herself.